Hello everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to The Busy Vegan Mom. Excited to be here with you sharing another video. So today I am fulfilling a video request from one of you that was wanting to know about my health journey, what brought me to the Starch Solution, have I had any setbacks along the way, things like this, just some general questions about a little background about me in regards to health and why I chose this path. So let's just get started. So my health journey in a nutshell looks like this. 6 years ago, I had a spiritual awakening, and they say that when we straighten out spiritually, we also straighten out mentally and physically. That's another viewpoint with some that I hold close to my heart. And so once that happened, life changed, of course, for many reasons. Life completely changed. But so as I began to work towards and enlarge my spiritual life, with that came wanting to eat better. And for health purposes, for spiritual purposes, but the big thing was I wanted to feel better. The job I was at the time, whenever I started to want to feel better in regards to the food that I would eat, I remember I was randomly getting sick and not knowing why. I was getting a lot of different types of infections and would go to the doctor. There was no explanations for them, and UTIs, things like this, and there was never any explanation. And so I started to learn that I could heal through foods. I would do research. I would incorporate things like blueberries and alkaline water and things like this, and would notice once I started incorporating some more whole foods and cutting out certain things that I wouldn't have those issues as much anymore, and literally saw that I was healing whatever, the doctor said wasn't even something that was happening with food choices. And so I started having things, I share about this a lot in my video that talks about how to go vegan. If you have not seen that, check it out. I will link it. But I started seeing things on YouTube, on my YouTube algorithm, right? It was, God's universe talking to me. We receive information for what we're ready for, right? And so I started seeing things, different videos and stuff, people talking about a plant-based diet. And I was like, what the heck's a plant-based diet? It's funny to think back to that and not even know what that meant. And then talking about veganism, I had no idea what it was. I'd heard the word before, but I had zero interest, didn't care. It had no interest. And so once this information started coming, after I had started to see that I could heal certain physical symptoms I was having with food, I started looking more and more into it. And it was, on a health level, they were kind of promoting that this was somewhat of a cure-all. We could feel better, and I would see these beautiful pictures of people's stocked fridges, and they would be this rainbow of colors with fruits and veggies. And I remember how I felt on the inside. My spirit was yearning for it. It felt good. I felt this feeling, this beautiful euphoric feeling, and was like, I have to do this. So it was really cool. It's my body was saying, go do this. Yes, you need this. And so I eventually, I went vegan not long after that, and just made the switch overnight, never looked back, and was operating under the belief still at that time, of course, that if it's vegan, that means it's better than eating other stuff, right? And so was eating lots of, Cliff Bars, vegan ice creams, things like this, still doing better than I was before, with taking out the meat and the cheese and everything and adding in more, obviously, vegetables and grains, legumes, things like this. So that's great, right? But still eating the processed stuff. And then as I would get further and further along my journey, I got really intrigued by the whole raw vegan thing. I never did it all the way, because I do love me some cooked foods, but I would do raw, I would intermittent fast, and then I would do, at this time I was going to be getting married soon. So I was intermittent fasting, and I'm not married anymore, by the way. This was back then, just letting you know. It was back then. And I wanted to look the best in my gown. So I knew that like a byproduct of eating plant-based or vegan, you are going to lose some weight when you're cutting out the animal fat for the most part. And so I was really intrigued by the idea of intermittent fasting, and by the idea of eating raw. And so I would eat raw until the last meal of the day. And so I would have like just things like fruit. I would eat like a whole papaya, things like this, and then come home and eat like hummus pasta. But like I would obsess about food. All I would think about is food and when I was going to eat again. And then come to find out now in retrospect, looking back, because I wasn't eating enough. It's so crazy how this is all piecing together, and I'm sitting here telling you about it and like knowing that that's what it was. And so, then eventually I get pregnant with my youngest daughter, and I had a, completely vegan pregnancy, and I really followed Dr. Furman's nutritarian lifestyle, as well as I would follow Dr. Michael Greger too. These are plant-based doctors that believe in eating the nutrient-rich foods and incorporating certain foods into your diet. I would eat my beans, my greens, my berries, my flaxseed, all of that every single day. I never went a day without it during my pregnancy, like at all. And I wanted to have a healthy, I was gonna, growing this healthy vegan baby in the womb. And I was not going to stand for, because when my first pregnancy with my first daughter, I had no kind of diet. I ate terribly. Didn't have the same lifestyle back then, completely different person, and did not nurture and take care of myself in the way that I would today. And so I wanted to like do the complete opposite, right? Like eat completely healthy, because I wanted to feel good. I was going to show the world that I bet you I won't get sick once. I'm going to have this beautiful beaming pregnancy because I eat plant-based foods and I'm just this radiating, glowing thing, so it's like, which was true, which it was, but some of that's ego. And so I had this healthy, extremely healthy pregnancy. I only gained the amount of weight that I was supposed to gain, the exact amount, which was awesome because I stuck to that whole food plant-based. The only oil I was eating was in I would eat I would get some hummus from Jason's Deli on my salad, and their hummus does have oil in it. So you could say I was kind of doing like Starchy Solution stuff, but it wasn't technically. It was the other plant-based doctors. And so felt great, had a great pregnancy, and then had my baby, and I was breastfeeding. And so I thought, I have to eat a lot of nuts, because I'm obviously doing a lot of research about how to get the best. I had a great milk supply, but wanted to keep it nice and plentiful and, continuing to have that flow in. And so I would eat lots of nuts and avocados and things like this. And I was always hungry and always tired. There's always that darkness we go through as moms when you're in that postpartum period. That's another thing. I was like, I refuse to be in any depression. Like I'm going to prevent any sort of dark, any sort of, thing that might happen, because like I ate zero refined sugar after the baby was born. I ate my salads every day. I would have soup at night. I was very, very strict with that, because I know how powerful food is. I know how it can heal us. It can prevent illness, disease. That's also diseases that, go on here. And remembering that our gut is like a second brain. And so we have to feed it foods that are going to help this brain. And so I stuck very, very strictly to that. And so during the time of, the baby, being born and all that, and then I ended up getting in another relationship. And, when you get in a relationship, you like to eat food. And so it's just a happy eat food type thing, to where, for me, it threw me off track with the way I wanted to eat and be. And then you just get in that comfortability where I'm sure you relate to this in some sort of way, or know someone that does. And so I started eating a lot of that vegan processed food again, just because it was like, he's not vegan, but he'll eat vegan food for me type thing. And so it's like, let's eat this, the vegan meats and stuff so we can enjoy foods together type thing. So that's what was going on. And so I got back into that habit and just eating a lot. Breastfeeding moms, we require a lot of food. I already am somebody who eats a lot anyways, or always has. And so I had heard about the Starch Solution. Stuff would pop up on my YouTube, and I would just be like, this is just another, here we go, another plant-based thing, I wouldn't even give it any attention, I'm like, I don't care, this is another fad diet. Didn't know it had been around for years, like it's a thing, like it's a long time thing with tons of success. So I just would always ignore it. And it was back last May, it was right before May that I started to get on the path, and information comes to us when we're ready for it, right? And so I don't know why, I guess it was, maybe Broccoli Mom, somebody like that, one of our favorites, who I've always followed on Instagram because of her beautiful plates full of abundance and fruit and broccoli and veggies and potatoes. And I remember just loving the whole vibe and just loving watching the food on her plate, and then seeing the captions and it talk about weight loss, and I'm like, oh, cool. And so I got curious. And there's these big plates of food. I love big plates of food. And then talking about weight loss, and I'm like, okay. And so I started from that point on. And much like I did with the vegan journey, like I've never looked back, I did that with the Starch Solution. I've been doing this again since, like I said, last May. And of course, there's times where at a family function, eating something with oil, or if we go out to eat, remember going out to eat is for entertainment. I try my best, excuse me, I try my best to try to find something that's oil-free, but it's not always possible. But then there's times like it's hard not to give into the urges. Like everybody else is eating these beautiful oil-filled meals. Like, well, if I'm eating plant-based and vegan still, it should be okay, right? Like, so, but I found that kind of adds up. So if you have weight loss goals in mind, it's best to not probably indulge, but sometimes it's hard. But going out to eat is not it's not as common as it probably was at one point in my life. It's just a special occasion thing here and there, but I've done really well. Let's see, what was next? So that's how I learned about it, what motivated me to switch. So any concerns, I think I just shared that. My concerns are, when we would go out to eat, and it's very hard to find food without oil. Once you don't really realize until you start doing this lifestyle that everything really has oil in it. My good friend of many years, reached out to me the other day. He went vegan as well years ago, and he was like, sis, everything has oil in it. And I'm like, I know, it's crazy. It's just unnecessary, added into so many things. But with that comes great creativity, learning how to saute things in different types of foods and create things without oil. Like, it's absolutely possible. And it's really cool. So, but learning about calorie density, learning about how oil and nuts are the foods that are so many calories per pound versus potatoes, fruits, veggies, all that. Veggies are the least calorically dense, meaning you can pretty much eat all the veggies you want and they really don't do anything to you. Which is nuts, right? So that's why they'll fill up on half a plate of veggies, or more than half a plate if you can, but it's a lot of food to take in, a lot of fiber, and it starts to fill you up, and then move on to your starches. It's just so genius to me. I have stuck with it because I see that it works. And if, for those of you who do not know, Starch Solution is a diet where it's whole food, plant-based. We cut out oils and obviously no animal products. Focus on starches and vegetables, all of the whole foods. And if you're looking to maximize weight loss, we go by something called the 50-50 plate, where you fill up half the plate with veggies, non-starchy veggies, half the plate with a plant starch. So what that looks like a lot of times for me is broccoli, because I love steamed broccoli, fresh broccoli, and then sweet potatoes or regular potatoes. That's just something that's easy for me, but there's tons of other stuff that I do. Some resources for those who want to learn more. I would love to share. So obviously the book, The Starch Solution, is excellent. I thought I had it here on the counter to show you. The book, The Starch Solution, is your number one resource. It's great. It's got everything you need in there. You can find it on Amazon. And then some excellent people that I like to follow that have shared so much about that with me through the virtual realms would be Healthy Emmy, Broccoli Mom, Plantiful Kiki. There's so many wonderful women out there, women and men both, that live this lifestyle. But Dr. John McDougall is the one who started it all. Him and his wife Mary have beautiful things that they do, and but the book, get the book, and it's life-changing for sure. So some staple ingredients or products, I think I'd mentioned having my broccoli and my potatoes always on hand, keeping beans, lentils. I utilize canned vegetables, absolutely. I just make sure not to get the ones that have all that excess sodium. Of course, you could rinse stuff off. Having whole grains, there's so many different rices, brown rice, black rice, red rice, that's just 3, but there's tons. So keeping the pantry full of those grains, tons of fruit, your veggies, frozen fruit. These are things I order every single week. I just did an Aldi's order, which is a store that's like a Trader Joe's. It's one of the stores that you can buy things for cheaper. My staples every single week. You know, oatmeal is always good to have on hand too. Right now I'm not doing oatmeal as much in the morning. I'm doing beans and veggies, which is another great combo for maximum weight loss if that's your goal. It's not just about the weight loss. It is about regaining your health, like recreating a relationship between yourself and food. It's also about listening to hunger cues. I've come back into the realization most recently that years ago I had done this whole thing where I was like chewing slowly because I had read it in a book. Sounds easy, right? But it's actually genius. Chewing slowly allows the saliva to mix in with our food, helps us to pre-digest the food even better, and it allows our body to really know when we're hungry. Because like if you see we're eating fast, or we're eating in the car, or we're eating at work when we're supposed to be working, or we're eating while we're watching television, we're not really tuned into those hunger cues and focusing. And so that's why it's really good to slow down, focus, pause, even have some gratitude before a meal. If you pray, if that's your thing, like whatever it is to center you, slow down, have a relationship with your food. And for the longest, when doing this, they would say, talk about your hunger cues. Like I ignored that because I didn't want to, because I've always loved the idea of just like gorging myself. But I've come into that now. And the way to do that for me is by chewing your food, at least, 20 to 30 times in a bite that's not too big, because a really big bite takes longer to chew, obviously. So I have found this to be genius and helpful, and I'm getting to relearn actually what my body really knows as full. And so that's been a really helpful tip, and I'm glad to be able to share that with y'all today. So the chewing slowly, they say 32 times is like the magic number. That's not Starch Solution. I've heard that from other people, but it is very helpful, very helpful. It's a game changer. So I hope I answered all of the things and all of the questions that were brought up for my video request. I'm pretty sure I did. If you guys ever want to see any future videos, please feel free to reach out. Always leave me a comment. If you don't follow me on Instagram, go ahead and let's link up. If you are a part of the Instagram community, I am there at The Busy Vegan Mom. It's the same picture as the one here on my YouTube. I would love to connect with you there. I do post meal photos every single day, not only of my food, but of my youngest daughter, who is also fully vegan, plant-based. So I do kids' food, and as well I do mine. And then we do little videos from here and there with recipes. So I'd love to have you. Thank you again so much for the video suggestion, and thank you for watching. Make sure to hit like if you made it all the way through. See you guys next time.